Dead Island has a crazy trailer. A family on vacation, attacked by zombies, looking for refuge in their room. Their daughter bit. The father holds the door, but they break through. Ready to defend his family, he's surprised by his daughter who's turned, now lunging at his father, ultimately dooming him to turn as well. The father, who protected his child, now protects himself from her and ultimately kills her by throwing her off his shoulders. The daughter flies through the window, hitting the ground, and all of that in reverse. This trailer made it seem like Dead Island will be an emotionally gripping zombie drama with intense violence, but also an intense story. Millions of views and a bunch of community analysis later, the game's released, and this shows the game's spirit a bit better.
Things that go bump in the night.
What the? Jesus!
Me.
Jerk.
Sam B. Okay. Shrunk in the head, broken legs, body parts on the concrete. Cut 'em up, butcher style gators in the swamp. Red light, leave 'em dead, running like a track meet. Scared of nobody.
You know who I am. Give any idea who you're fucking talking to. Or maybe you saw me in the playoffs. I played for the fucking goddamn champions.
Cooking meat, cannibal, trying to eat. I got a zombie army, and you can't harm me.
Hey,
Yeah,
watch
who
it.
do you voodoo, bitch? Drink blood like a vampire without warning. Who do you voodoo, bitch? Stand up. Sam B got the thing that go bump in the night. Whoa. Who do you voodoo, bitch? Hide your kids, grab your wife, better get out of sight. Who do you voodoo, bitch? Let's go.
You're on Benoi, an island off the coast of Papua New Guinea, during peak tourist season. A zombie outbreak unleashes, causing chaos. You wake up in your hotel room unaware of what happened, but already too late to the party. The big outbreak is over. You're now in the middle of the quiet stillness that presides over the island after a disaster of epic magnitudes. You have 4 main playable characters: Logan, a former American football player who specializes in throwing weapons; Perna, a firearms expert and a bodyguard; Jean, a spy and an informer who's a blade weapon expert; and my pick, Sam B, a has-been rapper from New Orleans and a blunt weapons expert. In fact, it's Sam B that sings the "Who Do You Voodoo" song from the intro. It's a beautiful world. Well, the pieces are there at least. See, there's good texture design, good visual effects, some good lighting as well. It's very thematic to the locale, and you'll see a fair few good vistas. Now, also, there's a ton of issues here, ruining the generally good visuals. Badly placed meshes, holes in texture work, stretched textures, visual glitches on an hourly basis. It's basically good components being applied really badly. There's also a surprising amount of environmental storytelling with for example, a porn shoot being interrupted by zombies and a tragic moment being delivered by some really bad voice acting.
My wife, my dad, oh fuck, my own fucking brother! Jesus Christ! What else could I do? Let him kill me? Why are you looking at me like that? What the fuck do you want from me? I had no choice!
In fact, all the voice acting is quite bad. It's kind of impressive actually that almost 100% of the voice acting is performed with either no emotion or just the weirdest inflection. And you know what? I don't even care. If anything, it adds to the charm. But yeah, hard to take seriously. The side quests themselves generally boil down to fetching or killing something and just returning. Story-wise, most of them will be inconsequential, and even with the lore that you might learn occasionally, it never actually comes into play in any meaningful way. Even with the most seemingly important pieces of information you can learn, the game conveniently always forgets it and moves on. Might as well talk about the movement, which is awful. The game's built in the Chrome engine. What is the Chrome engine? Well, glad you asked. It's one of the worst engines I've ever seen, at least with the games it's got under its banner. A bunch of mediocre racing games and Sniper Ghost Warrior. Yeah, they're in good company there with Dead Island. I guess that's why it feels like you're riding on ice skates. Your character has a clearly defined acceleration and deceleration arc, and oh boy, it's awful. Don't try jumping much either, since most surfaces will try and slide you off of them, unless it's a visually very flat surface. Funnily enough, there are a few moments of obligatory platforming, really playing to their strengths there. The game really assumes you're playing in co-op and with the fully varied team, since all the cutscenes have them as characters, even in single player. A story in this game is nothing to write home about, with the game centering around co-op crew talking to an unknown voice and following its instructions to make it off the island. There's no good emotional depth, it's just downright comical at times with its delivery. There are deeper holes in the narrative than the holes in your mom after that one kid in Xbox Live finally meets her and takes her out on a sweet, romantic dinner. The driving in this game, that's in a racing engine, well, no, actually it's bad. Yeah, they screwed it up somehow. Multiple inputs like going forward and left. Make sure not to press those buttons too close together, bucko, otherwise it won't register one of them. Wanna look behind you to back up? Best I can do is a 35-degree angle behind you, take it or leave it. Running over the zombies? No such options, but don't worry, we'll turn them into ragdolls if you're in the general vicinity. It serves its purpose, and you never need good driving to proceed or anything. No racing challenges or anything like that. It's just another lazy aspect in the game. I actually had to edit the game's internal data files to have privilege of having an FOV higher than 65. Yep, the FOV is 65. But not only that, turns out that increasing the FOV will break the gunplay, so you have to also edit your aiming values to make the aiming work, and even with those fixes, hip firing makes you shake like an epileptic on a massage chair. The game also has gunplay and it's yeah, look, it's bad. The game still doesn't really want you to use guns unless you're using it against other humans anyways, but still, they're bad. Zombies will suck up damage from guns without a problem, and with headshots barely ever killing in a single hit. However, what they do have is force. So, if you want to mow down a horde, then a quick spray from a rifle might be a good way to do it. In general, the soundtrack is quite serviceable with nothing standing out as bad. Though, also, there isn't anything memorable either, with the one exception of the church soundtrack, which is nice and ominous. My 1060 5800X setup runs the game well enough. At max settings 1080p, I was reaching an average frame rate of like 90 to 100, though there were dips both up and down here and there. So, with all this listing of bad aspect after just another bad aspect, is there anything to redeem this pile of dog shit? Well, yes. Yes, there bloody is. It's the combat. Not only is it a very physics-based combat system with the game taking weapon lengths and your targeting into account, it also has a surprising amount of thought put into it, with you being able to disable various limbs of zombies to make them less of a threat, but also managing stats like weapon durability, a weapon's damage, and also its force, which is the stat that determines knockdowns and stamina damage. It's still clunky as hell, but damn is it satisfying. The hectic moments of slicing one zombie only to run out durability on that knife, then throwing it directly in another approaching zombie's face only you had to switch to a baseball bat with electrical damage on it is quite satisfying. Suddenly, with this important, massive part of the game being so surprisingly good, everything somehow clicks into place. This is a B-movie, disguised as a video game. I mean, think about it. The weirdly good outsourced trailer that obfuscates what's behind the curtain, the obvious passion in the locale and trying to stick to a vision, the lack of polish, probably due to time constraints or budget, the terrible cheesy story, and the god-awful voice acting. It's all visual clunk, while the gameplay itself generally serves itself well enough to make all of this an enjoyable romp all around. There's also a whole DLC campaign dedicated to the character, which honestly, from the outside, seems just like a DLC character being added as an extra way to play the game. Instead, it's a bit of a prequel with a questionable timeline that is meant to tie some things together. In reality, it's glitchy, clunky, and it forgets that melee combat is what carries this game and that it's fun to level up, instead of being in a badly pre-built character. It's quite the mess. Don't worry though, this comes along as a default for the currently sold Definitive Edition, which didn't upgrade much, and instead perhaps introduced a few resource management issues that can cause issues like a more rapid despawning of vehicles and items from the world. look past what these things would normally mean. I know, it sounds ridiculous, but when you go into this game expecting the gaming equivalent of a cheesy horror movie, from the bad acting to the messy directing, then you still have a romp filled with a ton of great action and moments that you'll be able to laugh over alone or with friends. This video was sponsored by the Benoit Tourism Board. Thanks for watching.